Football then and now, a fun look at football nostalgia and the modern game intertwined. Join us. Hello. It is Stu here. This is Football Then and Now. It will be episode 8, and I've got my co-host and cousin waiting in the rings. As always, it's Mr. Chris Hume on today on the show, and we've got a very, very special guest who I'm going to bring in right now, Chris, and it is none other than Tranmere Rovers director, Mr. Lee McAteer, on Football Then and Now, episode 8. How are we, Lee?
I'm good, Stu. Thank you very much for having us, Chris. Always a pleasure. It's
nice to meet you.
Yeah, good times. Thanks for having us.
Lee, obviously, I know you do so much with Tranmere. You've been with them for a number of years in your role. Just currently, Wrexham away last week, and I got a photo here. I think we'll go current. Just a fantastic result. Some great results recently with as well as Wrexham are doing. So yeah, just last week at the racecourse there, and how it was for you.
I mean, I'll obviously try and be as professional as I possibly can, but as somebody that actually went to college in Wrexham and who's got a number of Wrexham friends, dear friends of mine, to go there and have what was an unbelievable victory to win 1-0 was very, very special. That was a very, very special day, and very special day for the fans. And yeah, let's have a lot more of them in the future. It was brilliant, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, obviously I've got to be as professional as I can be, but I am a Tranmere fan, so I was, sometimes you let your emotions get the better of you. And at the end, I was, I'm not going to lie to you, I did shed a bit of a tear, really. I mean, I'm quite an emotional guy anyway, but seeing that performance and on the pitch, and, when you get to know some of the lads and you realise how important it is to everybody, and then to go there and we literally played so well. And I'm, very, very blessed to work with some amazing guys there. Liam Hanlon, Alan Bestie is obviously my business partner on Progress Wrestling. David, Liam Quirk there, who's got a fantastic SEO business. Liam Hanlon, the guy on the left, he's actually just climbed Mount Everest. Bestie's doing Tour de France stuff. Alan's sailing around the world. David's doing all these amazing things in Liverpool University. And for me, if I can just play football once a week, I feel like I've done more than I can. So with all of these guys, it's like bloody hell, it's kind of pinch yourself territory to make you think, actually, I'm actually quite lazy in life. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, that was a fun one. And then ended up in the local back in Bebington, and had far too many Guinnesses, but it was worth it.
We know Bebington really well, me and Christopher, because our second cousin lives there. So yeah, we know Bebington, and we know the Wirral, obviously, and our granddad was a huge Tranmere fan, as you know, and they lived in Prenton. He built houses up there, so we've got an affiliation with Tranmere, although we're Evertonians. It's always good to see.
I'm trying to be professional, Stu. I'm trying to be professional. We're not going to mention St. Yates's Day, are we? I mean,
you said about this. You said about this in 2020 on the wrestling show, mate. But I know, not a good day for us, and I think I'll put some footage in, some photos here just to assist, because it wasn't a good day for us as Blue Noses. Me and Chris remember this day very well, but for you guys, what a result at Goodison it was for you guys that day.
Do you know what makes me laugh? If you actually read the programme of that game, they talk about how they're building the new Everton Stadium. They actually talk about it in that specific programme, and obviously it's only coming to fruition now, but they went into great detail about how they were moving away from Goodison Park in that programme. So I suppose that's long-term storytelling, I suppose.
We waited for so long. It's crazy. It's crazy. Obviously, it was meant to be down there, wasn't it? Like you say, a long time ago. But that's one of the positives, not to make it about Everton in the new stadium. But I will say that for Mr. Mashiri, he has built us that stadium. I will give him that all day long. I don't particularly agree with it. Everything else financially, Christopher will attest to that. But he has got that stadium built. I will give the bloke that.
When you say that though, Stuart, it's just like you tip your hat to Mashiri for the, Bramley Moore, but the state that we've got into, because of that, it has fried a lot of the fans,
What do you think, Lee, with Everton? from the outside looking in currently?
I mean, it's a difficult one for me, to be honest with you, because obviously you hear different things when you're in boardrooms and stuff like that. So it's hard for me to really kind of talk about it in detail. But what I would say is that obviously I'm a Tranmere fan first and foremost, but obviously being from a Merseyside lad, I want to see the Merseyside teams do well because it's good for the local area, and it's really important that Everton stay in the league, even if it means that it seems every other team are getting points knocked off them and whatnot to make that happen. I suppose the main thing is to ensure your league status. But I think what Sean Dyche has done for Everton, I think he's done an unbelievable job given the circumstances that I've been told about. So obviously did a fantastic job at Burnley. One of the guys that he's actually godparent to his son. He was he was the head of media at Tranmere, and he went on to Burnley to work with Sean. And I've heard nothing but amazing things about him. I think Everton are really, really fortunate to have him as a manager under such difficult circumstances.
You hear different stuff, though. I think a lot of the fans that go week in, week out, home and away, they're bemoaning about late substitutions and things like that. But yet, in the grand scheme of it, what do we do? Sack another manager? It's not going to achieve anything. You know what I mean? They've done all this. We have to stick with him now. We have to for the foreseeable. And if we were to go down, say, worst case scenario, he's going to be the right man to get us back up. I don't want us to go down, but we've got to look at it, the broad spectrum of it. He is the correct man for the job. It's just he's come in under terrible circumstances.
I'm not trying to be boring on your podcast, guys. I'm not, but because it's probably going to be quite a lot of straight back answers. But honestly, he's done a phenomenal job. And I feel like maybe as a non-Evertonian, I can probably say that. My uncle's a massive Everton fan. One of my best mates, Craig Hughes, who lives in Cupertino, working for Apple. He was over the other week. He's a massive Everton fan. Dean Payton, who's doing some incredible things on the Wirral. He's the guy that randomly now owns the U-boat on the Wirral, as you do. He's an Evertonian. So I hear all these stories all the time, and I think the main thing is to just try for Everton to ensure that they stay in the league. So when they do finally enter that incredible new stadium, that it's fit for Premier League football.
Absolutely. I didn't want to make it about Everton as such because I've got a lot to ask you, as has Chris, about Tranmere. Now, on to a more positive note, going back to 2019, Wembley, the playoff final against Newport. Again, I've got images to assist us here. But yeah, firstly, I'm going to have you with the trophy as you do there. And just that day for you. Obviously, it was back-to-back promotions for Tranmere as well, wasn't it?
It was unbelievably special. And I appreciate I'm majorly biased, of course I am, but we are so blessed as a football club to have Mark Palios, Mr. Palios, as our chairman. I can't even begin. I've learned so much from Mr. Palios. It's just unbelievable. And you remember, I am a Tranmere Rovers fan. I was there when I was knee-high to a grasshopper in the family end of Tranmere, going to all these games. My first game was against Grimsby. I think we lost 2-1, if memory serves me right. But it was, so then experience things such as that. And that was at Hamilton Square when we were, celebrating and in front of all the fans. It was, unbelievably special. And it's, that just, Nors and Rides and, Connor and Scotty, Macca, the list goes on and on. It was a very, very special day because the football club had gone through so much in terms of, obviously before that we'd been relegated into the National League, and it's so difficult to get out of that league, and then to finally get back up and then go back to back against Newport, and when Caprice, put the the cross in, and it's just very, very special, very special.
Chris, anything to ask Lee about them winning that day?
Well, I always remember a lot. Obviously, as Stuart said about our granddad, so we've always kept a close eye on Tranmere. I've always been keeping an eye, seeing where you're up to. Obviously remember the days when you were in the first division before obviously we changed it to Sky Bet and Coca-Cola, and I was, devastated for Tranmere when they had all those relegations to the National League. But you know what I mean, I feel like seeing you guys and you had your back to back. I felt a part of it as well, but because it's obviously means to have that sort of semi-close connection to Tranmere. What was it for the players to have all that? You know what I mean? You battled, as you say, the National League's a hard league to get out of, but to do one promotion and then another. Did you feel like you could go on and push further, or was there a point where you were like, right, okay, we've done this, maybe now we need to look forward and maybe not go as fast towards the promotion for the next league you get to?
Well, I mean, obviously we get to League One, and obviously again, I'm sorry to be boring. I've got to be very professional in some of the things that I say, but then the pandemic happens, and we're in a situation where, I mean, ironically, those kids behind us were actually with all the FA Cup branding. That was against Manchester United in the FA Cup. Now, obviously, I wasn't playing, by the way. That was just something that they very kind, the team very kindly gave me my name on the back, because my company at the time was on the sleeve sponsor for the game and whatnot. But if you look at that particular point in time, we'd done really well in the FA Cup. We'd beaten Watford it was just that was an unbelievable set of circumstances. We go play Man United. So we played one game less in the league, I think it was, if memory serves me right. So then we're playing Man United, and our next game is against Wimbledon. Now, Wimbledon, we're one place above us. I think we'd just beaten Accrington Stanley with a Vorney goal. And we were playing really started to pick up form. And then, of course, the pandemic happens. This ridiculous points per game scenario happens, which just isn't a true reflection of what was going on. And again, no disrespect to the likes of, Wickham, who end up in the place that they did at the expense of Peterborough. We obviously end up getting demoted and everything else in between. The whole scenario just was bizarre. And, behind the scenes, we were obviously speaking to the EFL about it and trying to do what we could to ensure our place in League One. I think no one can dispute that if at the end of the season you're in those places, and obviously you take that on the chin as any football fan or anybody part of a football club would. But to go through so much momentum and then to get demoted under the circumstances that we did was unbelievably difficult to take. But obviously, life. Excuse me. Obviously, everyone then moves on, and Hearts up in Scotland had something very similar kind of happen to them in terms of their circumstances. It was just a really, really difficult time, and on top of that, the pitch actually had collapsed during the pandemic as well. Wow. So if you actually look back at that Tranmere Man United game, the pitch was completely, it literally collapsed. So all of a sudden, all these things are happening all at the same time. Mr. Palios managed to pull off, a brilliant scenario in terms of getting a new pitch sorted and everything else in between. But when it's no different to what you guys do with your podcasts. Obviously you care passionately about it. You care passionately about Everton. Obviously for us, it just felt a massive injustice, really. And when you're doing so much and you can see the momentum that's clearly there, it was, I have to say, obviously I'm kind of speaking as a fan here as well, as an associate director and stuff, but it was very, very tough, very, very tough. And I suppose it's how you guys feel about the fact that Everton had their points taken off them. What will happen to the likes of Manchester City,
absolutely,
Chelsea next season in terms of financial fair play. Where all these things, when what you really want is you just want that level playing field, whatever that level playing field looks like. But that demotion was, everybody was bitterly upset because it affects so much stuff. It affects the budgets, affects so much stuff that you can't necessarily control. That was a tough time. That
incredible. Like to see where the club is now to where it was. Absolutely, testing times right there, Lee. But look at Tranmere now. Absolutely. Now, I know, obviously, you want to speak about the fans, the fan base at Tranmere Rovers. So, just the fans. at the club and what they mean to you and what they mean to the directors and the owners?
Still, I mean, I am a Tranmere fan. You know, that's the thing, you see. So, so for me, it's no different. You know, I just feel so humbled and blessed that, you know, Mr. Palios, you know, allowed me to be a part of his, you know, his wonderful football club. And for me, every single time I go to a Tranmere game, or if I'm in a boardroom or in any kind of set of circumstances in and around the club, to me, it's pinch yourself territory, because I still remember myself with my old man when, you know, I was knee high to a grasshopper. You know, I remember going away to York when I was literally, I was literally, you know, only I think they're the the Icelandic lads, I think, who actually came over to watch us, came into the boardroom afterwards. That was quite fun. But again, it's like, you know, we've got an international fan base. We've got some great stuff going on in Indonesia as well. And, you know, it's, you know, we all care so passionately about the football club. You know, we really, really do. And we're just trying to get the football club to be as good as it possibly can be. But obviously, it's not the easiest thing in the world to run a football club, because, you know, obviously, as a fan, of course, I'd love to see Lionel Messi play for Tranmere Rovers. And to be honest with you, why wouldn't he want to play for Tranmere Rovers is the real question. But sometimes, you know, the commercialities don't necessarily allow you to do certain things, because the football club, it's not just a football club. It's what goes also off the pitch. It's the community. It's the food parcels. It's everything else that's in and around the club. It's a hub of activity. And yeah, of course, we care about what happens at 3 p.m. after 90 minutes or so, or what seems to be 112 minutes every game now with the latest updates.
Yeah.
But it's so much more than just what you see on the pitch. It affects, and there's so many different touch points to so many different people's lives that, you know, that's what a football club really is. And that's why, you know, when you do see a football club go into administration or to the point where they don't exist anymore, it's not just the football that's effective. It's all that local community and everything else that goes around it. And I think sometimes people forget that.
It's incredible. Do you know what? Talking about Prenton Park, looking at the size of the ground still, you know, it's a championship. It's championship. The same, you know, similarly with Wrexham with the race course. I know they've got the temporary stand up and that, but you look at how many seats are in Prenton Park. I always think of that. You know, I go back to that's where you should be. I truly believe that. And that's, as Chris said, that's what we remember so fondly, the old First Division days with Tranmere.
Yeah.
So, incredible. Yeah. Chris?
Well, I asked you about James Vaughan. Obviously, he was there, wasn't he? And he moved on as a director of football before he came back to Everton, didn't he? Obviously, now he looks after the loan players, doesn't he, and finds them places to go to, for them to get better at their football. What was he like? Obviously he was a bit older when you had him, from when we obviously had him as a youngster when he scored against Palace and stuff. What was he like as a person?
Vaughan is magnificent. I loved working with Vaughan, and he's a great human being. And to be honest with you, he was such a phenomenal player, and it was so sad to see the injuries that he had towards the latter stage of his career, because he really was a cut above for those leagues. He really was. And you think about what he achieved, and I'm pretty sure he's still, you guys will tell me differently, but he's still the youngest Premier League goal scorer, I believe, to this point. And he's just absolutely brilliant guy. I've not spoken to him in a little while. I saw him in where did I see him? Saw him in the boardroom, probably a good few months ago now. But I remember sitting next to Vaughan when we were playing Oldham away, and he was saying to me, because we've got a really nice lad, striker called Charlie Jolly, and Charlie had just been brought back from on loan from Chester, and he said to me, I'm sitting next to him watching the game, and he's like, he's going to score tonight, this lad. He's going to score. And literally, I mean, it was it must be like the 96th minute, 1-0 victory away at Oldham. We talk about limbs, and it's like, Vaughan, honestly, do you want to tell us the lottery tickets as well? But Vaughan's a great guy, and I've got no doubt whatever he ends up doing, he's going to be mass successful, because he's just so driven, so humble, really cool guy.
Absolutely, yeah. He had a great career. Even I wanted him to stay with us longer than we had him, actually, because we were all rooting for him. But he went on to go, and he carried on, didn't he? He carried on professionally, which is fantastic.
You can see the respect he's got within the game. We had I think he's the old owner now of Huddersfield, Dean, he created Cards for You, I think is the business he created. And he came in, and obviously Varney used to be at Huddersfield, and straight away you could see just the excitement and the conversations, the way he puts himself across. He's a fantastic lad, really, really good.
Oh, great stuff, great stuff. And obviously he's took his role at Everton now. So yeah, we wish him the best, and we hope he does well for us now as he's come back. It's gone full circle.
I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will.
Full circle for Mr. Vaughan, absolutely. Now, looking at the table, Lee, I'm going to pull the table up. As you stated to me off camera a few days ago, you've beaten Stockport, you've beaten Mansfield, you've beaten Wrexham. It's been a fantastic run. It's been really, really good. Where do you see you guys getting to as we're hitting the tail end of the season now? Where do you think you could finish potentially?
Oh, gosh, I mean, obviously, of course, we'd love to be in the playoffs. I mean, of course we would, but it's a very, very tough task. And I think the job that that Nigel has done has been absolutely remarkable. I mean, I have to say, generally, he's one of the most, if not the most inspirational guys I've ever had the privilege to come across. And it's little things with Nigel. He's so, for example, Nigel won't wear a watch, and he has to have people around him that'll tell him time, because he gets so captured in the moments of everything, and he's so inspiring. Honestly, I can't even begin. In fact, the first time I met Nigel properly was after the Players Awards last year. And a few old boys were then, so some of the fans were then coming into Prenton Park, and some of the old guys came across, and Nigel was like just chatting away, and I'm thinking, maybe Nigel's met these guys before, or earlier on in the day, or what was going on, and it turned out that Nigel just remembered these people's names, and one of the guys he hadn't seen, I think, since he was doing some sort of presentation for like some of the youth teams. I hadn't seen him since like the late 80s, and then he just went like, it's and then he did this thing, it's John, isn't it? And he went, yeah, it is. And I was like, and I said to him, I said, how do you remember that? He goes, I just remember names and faces. But he's so inspirational. I absolutely adore spending time with him. We're very, very blessed to have him. Phenomenal manager.
I go back with Nigel Adkins. I go back to Scunthorpe's days there. I can remember him managing there at Southampton as well. Wealth of experience, not too dissimilar to Phil Parkinson at Wrexham. They've managed clubs, haven't they, higher levels, and been in the game so long. So no, it's nice to hear how much of a rapport you have with Nigel, Lee.
Well, I mean, obviously, I don't have the same rapport as what the chairman and others have with him, but for the amount of time I have spent with him, I just think he's just a brilliant character. And how obviously, as much as I would love to say I'm a professional footballer, I'm clearly not. But I have to say, just as a man manager, and how inspirational he is, I'd love to be working under Nigel. He's just a brilliant human being, and the positivity that he just possesses and just kind of carries when he walks into a room. It's and again, I come to this as a fan, and I'm like, wow, we've got Nigel Adkins, who's got an unbelievable track record, and the reality is that he's from the area. He played for Tranmere. He understands what it means, to be Tranmere. This is Tranmere. He gets it, and it's a hard thing to kind of explain that, really.
Lewis Young up there in Falkirk, up in Bonnie, Scotland. Hello, Lewis. Hope you're well, mate. And we've also got Sean Cold, who I know Lee knows very well, SWA. And I'm sure you can make light.
I'll be seeing him at WrestleMania in a couple of weeks' time, over probably one or two beers, I would imagine. But no, it's big shout out to the HWO lads. Can't wait to see you all in Philadelphia.
Brilliant.
I wish Wrestle Tours. There you go. There's my cheap plug, boys. Yes. There we go.
You've got to get Wrestle Tours, and obviously Progress as well. I would like, that's a definite, and I think perfectly done there, actually, because you are off to Philadelphia about a week and a half away now, isn't it, for WrestleMania 40?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Progress Freedom Walks again, chapter 165 there in Philly. So yeah, plug away, please.
Well, I mean, I appreciate this is a football podcast, so we should definitely talk about the synergies between football and wrestling and how some of those things came about. But obviously, incredibly proud to be one of the co-owners of Progress Wrestling. We're going over to Philadelphia to literally we're the only UK promotion that's going to be represented there. There's going to be some big announcements later today in terms of who's going to be taking on Kid Lykos, who's also his birthday today, who's going to be taking him on for the Progress Men's World Championship. But yeah, it's absolutely phenomenal for me. It's like two of my biggest passions are football and wrestling, and I'm able to be a part of both communities. So it's what can you say? It's very, very cool.
Amazing. I wish I was there. I miss it. I miss not going overly. I really do. And I know obviously Mike Angus always says you've got to come back at some point, but family holidays for me these days, that's the priority. And
I've heard a family holiday to potentially Minnesota might be quite nice next year.
Now, Minnesota and the stadium, yes, I would love to. I'd love to do that.
I know a guy, let me know.
Absolutely. And obviously there's a photo here from LA, from SoFi Stadium last year. As part of Wrestle Tours, obviously the packages that you do for WrestleMania, they're fantastic. But yeah, I'll just throw this photo up here. There you are with Rob Van Dam.
Yeah, do you know what? I mean, gosh, that was so crazy. That was so because of our Progress relationships and stuff, we actually at times don't even know who's going to turn up. And it's funny because every time I've spent time with Rob, it's always been in bizarre and funny situations. And the first time I was with Rob, I ended up missing, I think it was WrestleMania 34. I ended up missing the Dean Ambrose, otherwise known as John Moxley versus Brock Lesnar match, because myself, Rob, me and Gene Oakland, and David Atunga, and randomly a very, very JBL running through in between doing commentary. We're literally doing shots of tequila in the in the bar at the AT&T Stadium. And then Rob, who's obviously friends with a number of our friends, and just like, yeah, sure, I'll come down. And we were supporting a number of different charities that day, including Connor's Cure, which is brilliant. So yeah, Rob's very much a friend of all the brands, really. What a career he's had. That's the beauty of the kind of Wrestle Tours packages, is that you just don't know who's going to turn up. I'm loving these cheap plugs, boys. Fantastic.
I thought I'd get it up there because we're on the way. We're on the road. We've been on the road to Mania for a while, haven't we? Really, let's be honest, as they say. But yeah, there's a breakdown there. Especially for people maybe looking to go next year or the year after as well, isn't it, Lee?
Yeah, well, we're actually going to be launching our packages for WrestleMania 41 probably next week. So, very humbly, we've got literally thousands now on the waiting list, which is really, really like beyond humbling. But we can only take so many people. So they're going to be launched next week. We're really, really excited to do that. And I can't believe that WrestleMania 40 is around the corner. It seems like yesterday. I mean, again, talk about the pandemic stuff. I was literally outside of that stadium when it was being built because I was checking out the hotels and which hotels we were going to use. And then all of a sudden that's come about. And I just don't know where the time's going. I mean, WrestleMania 40, man. I mean, my God, absolutely just bloody mental.
I can remember you posting about that, actually, when you were doing your recce down there. Yeah, amazing, amazing, fantastic. But yeah, it's great. I like how your football and your wrestling is intertwined in your professional life, and
Stu, there's lots and lots of wrestlers that are Tranmere Rovers fans now. You know this, don't you?
I have got photographic evidence of one man who's been in the business for, it's got to be close to 35, 40 years probably now, and it is Mr. Jeff Jarrett with yourself and Mark Palios there. So yeah, how did this come about? Obviously, this photo.
Well, I mean, the reality is, why wouldn't Mr. Jarrett be a Tranmere Rovers fan? That's the real question. He's not going to want to be an Everton fan, is he? Let's be honest.
To be honest with you, Lee, I don't think anyone wants to anyway.
I'm not going to comment on that, boys. To be honest. It was funny. I know that Ted DiBiase did a promo for Everton a few years ago, and it was purely because he was getting a free Everton shirt. And the reality is, I was actually making everybody Tranmere fans back at the first ever for the Love of Wrestling, a few years ago. But no, Jeff very, very kindly came down and spent some time with some of the underprivileged kids that were in our rec centre, and came down, met Mr. Palios amongst other things. And obviously the career Jeff has had has been absolutely fantastic. And actually we've got something in Tranmere. It's called the War Room, where all of the players will go to before they then head to the changing rooms for their talks. And there's actually a signed picture of Jeff that was in the War Room. So it's we were very, very thankful for Jeff to spend the time with us and everything else in between.
Reiterating there, obviously, you've saying about the community in Tranmere and getting these people in. It's amazing work, Lee. Fantastic, and so many clubs are community led, aren't they? But I know how much Tranmere do as a club.
I mean, the thing is, I can't take any credit for that. There are so many people like Jess Grundy, for example, on the trust. What she does for the community is absolutely fantastic. So we're very, very blessed. On so many different levels, and everybody adds different things in their different ways, and then hopefully the output of that is that we're a better football club as a collective.
Amazing stuff. Chris, I know you got a question for Lee as well, because we said
I brought this up to you on WhatsApp before, didn't I? So, obviously, Peter Johnson was the chairman at Tranmere, as well as at the time Everton, wasn't he? Well, just after he left Everton, was he hounded out at Everton? And I remember, as a young lad, the unrest, obviously not as bad as it is now, but I remember the unrest as an Evertonian and watching everyone chase him out of the club, and then he obviously became the chairman of Tranmere. What are your feelings of Peter Johnson?
Well, I've humbly I met Mr. Johnson a number of times. I know his daughter fairly well, Kate, and I was very, very saddened to hear the news that Peter had recently passed away. And I think what people forget about scenarios is that Peter was the last chairman for Everton Football Club to lead you guys to a domestic trophy. Was it 95 with Paul Rideout?
Yeah, it was 95, yeah.
And I think there's a lot to be said for that. And I appreciate, obviously there's so much passion and everything else in between. But at the end of the day, he brought Everton success. And whether, at the end of the day, there's one thing that I've learned is that you can't teach fans how to be fans, because everyone's got their own opinion, right? And rightly so. But, I was very, very saddened to hear that Peter had passed away. I really enjoyed spending time with him, the times that I did. And, unbelievably successful guy. Ultimately, he owned Tranmere before Everton, just to kind of put that to put that into perspective. But and also as well is that he leaves a real lasting legacy around Tranmere Rovers Football Club. And I know that there is a service coming up that Kate Eugenie has been putting together under the Peter Johnson Foundation for everybody to pay their respects. And I just think that whether you agree, disagree with somebody, at the end of the day, if they're willing to put their money and their time and effort into trying to make something work, there should always be a level of respect there. And especially the fact that he won the FA Cup with you guys, I think there's a lot to be said for that.
We're probably a bit short-sighted. You bringing that up. It's correct. It is, yeah, absolutely. Chris, sorry, I jumped in there.
No, I was just I agree with what Lee's saying. You mean fans can be very much short-sighted. You see a lot of it, the way it's portrayed now, and I didn't know as much. Well, we were kids and Peter Johnson was getting chased out of Goodison. I didn't understand it as well as obviously now for what the situation is at Everton and with Farhad and the late Bill Kenwright. But
well, imagine now. I mean, again, I appreciate it's obviously all hindsight, right? And literally, imagine if you guys just won literally the guys just won the FA Cup, and all of a sudden he's being chased out of the club. I'm not being funny about that. But,
no, not at all. That's not. We don't take it like that either. No.
And the thing is that I can say this firsthand. It's just at the end of the day, it's like at Tranmere, everybody is incredibly passionate, and rightly so. And to be fair, it's the same in Progress. Everyone's incredibly passionate, and everyone's got strong opinions because they give a shit. They care. Sorry, so there you go. Sorry, a bit of profanity for you there.
No problem.
But that's allowed on this show.
You can swear, Lee. It's not
God, don't tell me that. Don't tell me that.
Let it out. Just let it out.
But the thing is that everyone's passionate about things. Everyone's got an opinion. But I think sometimes, and I would never have known this before I got involved in the football club, is like nobody works harder than Mr. Palios. Nobody. honestly, and nobody wants to win more than Mr. Palios. Let me tell you. And when results don't go there, don't go Tranmere's way, he feels it more than anybody. And of course, then when all the social media and everything else that's in between, it's tough to read, because everyone is so passionate and wants the same thing. So that's where it does become difficult, and especially when you're in the public light and you're getting people sending you tweets and stuff like that. Sometimes it can be difficult to take.
It's totally different these days, isn't it? In life as well. It's the hatred and the thing. Anybody can post anything. So yeah, I do feel for people in the game of football, players, owners, directors. It's an open forum these days. We all used to rant and rave years ago, but it's
unfortunately, it was to each other, though, wasn't it? It was to each other.
It's terrible. It's terrible. Some of the stuff you see, but yeah, it's just people got too much time on their hands. That's what I think. But sorry, go on, Chris.
No, I agree. No, I was just what you were saying about that, and I agree with social media has ramped a lot of it up now, hasn't it? In the last decade, I still do what I've always done, and is rant at you through WhatsApp. I don't go. I read people's tweets and I read when people go mad and what have you, or I'll watch people. I'm still old school in that way. I don't put it out in the open for people. You know what I mean? To me, it's like we do it how we've always done it and how we were brought up. Is if I've got a problem with Everton, you have probably much the same problem as Everton, and we discuss it between each other. You don't need to put it out there. In the social space.
I could do with being a bit more insular, but that's just me as a person. If I've got an issue, you know full well what's coming. But yeah, I just testament to you guys, because it's you have to. I suppose you have to switch off, and that isn't easy to do. I do feel for people in the game.
My job is very simple. I will help Mark and Nicola in any way I can. It doesn't matter what that role is. The things that I tend to do a lot of at the club are the media, the social media, some of the social media aspects, and try to mentor people to then have better output amongst other things. But for me, like I said from the outset, it's just such a real kind of pinch yourself type moment to be able to be part of the club in any particular way that I will literally do anything for Mr. Palios. Honestly, he's been a massive part of my life, and being able to open up so many doors. I have to say, talk about like imposter syndrome. I remember the first time I was sitting down with everybody and all the associate directors and everything, and I remember looking around going, and I am going to swear here, boys, all right, so just for, and I remember looking around going, how the fuck am I here? Honestly, I remember it. So I've had that twice actually in my life. That one, and then when I was on the advisory board for, still am advisory board for Leeds University and law school, and I'm sat there with Keir Starmer and a few other people. And sometimes you kind of go to political affiliation, right? But it's those kind of moments that you do kind of pinch yourself and you think, wow, this is very surreal. But like for me, when I'm put in those positions, I want to prove that it's not just about getting the title; it's about actually proving that you deserve to be there on merit. So I've always tried to do as much as I possibly can for any of the stuff that I've done, really, and or any of the businesses I've been a part of, startups, and even now with some of the people that I've mentored at Tranmere, who've gone on to some have gone on to Burnley, some have gone on to Blackburn. Sadly, one's gone to Bolton.
You could have done without that.
But well, gosh, well, obviously there's a big rivalry between Tranmere and Bolton, isn't there? So
yeah,
and there's a guy that I'm still very close to play football with him on Wednesday, and he's gone on to become part of the the media team at Bolton. But the reality is I'm really proud of these guys, and if I've helped in a very small way to move their careers forward, even of course selfishly I always wanted to be at Tranmere. I think I get a massive kick out of helping people. I really, really do. And but obviously, what we really want is Tranmere to go on there, get promoted and continue to build. I'm kind of ranting now, I guess.
No, not at all.
No.
We want this. This is what we want. We know we like the depth of answers. We do on this show. Absolutely. Now, I'm going to put up a guy that you wanted to speak about because I've obviously asked you prior. It's another graphically. I can't put any video up because of copyright.
Okay.
I apologise.
That's all right.
So, Mr. Sir Trevor Brooking, legend of the game. Obviously, you wanted to speak about him. So, yeah, just.
Well, you were asking me, Stu, if there's anything that's a little bit left field, right, which might be amusing. So, Trevor Brooking's a really big mate of Mr. Palios's, and the first playoff final, I was sat next to Trevor, and one of our players got sent off after about 45 seconds. A guy called Liam Ridehouse, and literally, I've got my dad adjacent to me, and Sir Trevor. And of course, I'm trying to be, bear in mind, I'm a fan, right? And it's something, sometimes it's very hard to control your emotions, and you have to, to a certain extent. And then he gets sent off after 45 seconds. I remember Sir Trevor just going, well, Sam, this isn't the exact start that you wanted. And it was like, literally, it was a really bad impression, but it was like having like a match of the day type experience whilst next to him. And I'm trying to be as polite as I possibly can. I'm going, I don't really quite know what to say, Sir Trevor. That's a devastating blow. And then my old man next to me goes, you effing what has he said? Blah, 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 and I'm like this, I'm like trying to calm my dad down because I'm next to Sir Trevor Brooking. And then we, to cut a long story short, we end up, winning, getting promoted back to the Football League. And literally at the final whistle, I couldn't help, but I ended up hugging Sir Trevor and ended up kissing him. And I didn't, it was just one of those things. It was like, come here, Sir Trevor, boom, literally. And then I'll never forget that, and then I ended up sitting next to him for the year, or very close to him the year after. And then I ended up playing in like a celebrity golf day. And Sir Trevor was with Ozzy Ardiles, Nigel Spackman, and a few other people. I'll never forget, this was at Stoke Park, where it was famous for Goldfinger and Odd Job with the hat.
Yeah.
And I'm going across, and he looked at me and went, "Yeah, you got to be careful. This one, this one, look, guys, he might kiss you."
I tell you what,
that's how happy I was. I was literally, I couldn't help. It's just when you're just like so happy in the moment. I was like, yes, Sir Trevor. It's just it's one of those things. But again, it's because I'm a fan, and I care so much about the football club. Vastly
underrated as an analyst, co-commentator. He was, because many an FA Cup final, he was on the stick, and I loved him as a pundit. And I know he obviously did so much for West Ham, England, and all that. That's just incredible.
Yeah, so absolutely fantastic guy, Sir Trevor. Really enjoyed getting to know him. He probably doesn't want to see me again because he doesn't quite know what my reaction is going to be to things. But obviously, when you're so passionate about stuff, you're in the heat in the moment. It was, it was funny. And that particular golf day, I was playing with Tony Gale in the end, which was quite funny rather than Sir Trevor. So he was quite relieved.
Oh, brilliant. It's great. Absolutely brilliant. Chris, anything for Lee to add before I move on to the next bit?
I was going to mention me and you, Stuart, last time we were in Prenton Park.
Yes. Lee will want to hear this if I haven't told him before. Yes, go on.
Wasn't it was it Uncle Jimmy's?
Uncle Sammy's 90th it would have been. And we were in Aldo's bar, Lee. We were at like a function in the ground, so yeah.
I just remember it all.
I loved watching John Aldridge growing up. Literally, literally that seeing him come onto the pitch, number 8, and the shimmy penalty. I'll never forget in the FA Cup he scored a great overhead kick against Runcorn. Brilliant, from a Johnny Morrissey cross. They were the days. That was good. That was.
I've got some player association here. I'm going to throw some club players, maybe legends in your mind as well. John Achterberg, who's obviously goalkeeping coach at Liverpool now. But I know he was paramount to you in goal between the sticks, wasn't he, for you? So, yeah, your memories of John Achterberg, Lee.
I mean, I've got to confess, I think I've only met John once, I think. But, I mean, watching him in the, in the main stand, fantastic goalkeeper. And, what he's gone on to achieve with Liverpool is absolutely phenomenal. So, yeah, he's a very proud Tranmere alumni.
What about Paul Rideout? Obviously, he played for us. Then he came to you guys. I remember Southampton in the cup. I remember watching that game on TV.
What a game! What a 4-3, unbelievable. I mean, again, absolute legend, and I'm so glad he decided to play for a proper team in Merseyside.
Oh.
I teamed that one up there, didn't I, Chris?
I've only played.
Oh my word! Yeah, tell you what, he did well for you. Also, Stuart Barlow. Now he had his critics at Everton. I'm not going to slate him, but he did. There was a nickname for him. But again, Stuart Barlow
did brilliant for us. Obviously, the same kind of era as Paul. Again, you look back at that Southampton game and everything else in between. It was fantastic times back then. But again, hopefully we'll have some more fantastic times to come.
Who, if you had to put someone on a pedestal where there's been a player over the years who's like your favourite player, when you've obviously been following the club for so many years, but who would be at the top? Who's on the pedestal, Lee?
You know what? It's really hard to kind of direct it down to one. I mean, there's a few players that stand out for me, and Pat Nevin was absolutely phenomenal. Obviously, huge Everton legend.
He was.
And I'll never forget in his first game, he did this little dummy and then lifted the ball over the right back, ran straight past him, crossed it in, and I think Aldo scored. And that was just, I mean, what a player. And then I was very blessed to be able to do a bit of work with him at the Southern Super White Army event that I think was in 2018, interviewed Pat, and to see what he's achieved after his football career and hearing his stories as well. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn when I say that he didn't necessarily see eye to eye with Howard Wilkinson for a few different reasons. But that was obviously the catalyst of him coming to us. I remember a very funny story, which I'll say it because this was what he was on one of his after dinner speeches that he did with us. And at the time when he was with us, we were in a big battle against Bolton Wanderers in terms of trying to get promoted. And we unfortunately had a lot of injuries that tended to be, and in my opinion, one of the main reasons why we didn't end up going up. I mean, 4 years in a row, we got to the Championship playoffs. And unfortunately didn't happen for us. And then and the way he told the story was so funny. So he gets a heads up that Bolton want to sign him. And he basically turns around and says to his missus, look, I can't do it. I can't do it. The rivalry, it's there. And Bolton had been promoted to the Premier League that season. I can't do it. And then Kingy, John King, who's our former legendary manager, he's at the training ground and he says, Pat, can you, I need to speak to you. We've had a club come in for you. I need to speak to you about it. And Pat, not supposed to know, is like thinking it's Bolton. He's like, yeah, I'm not interested. I'm not interested, Gaffer. I'm not interested at all. You sure? Yeah, no problem. Anyway, deadline goes. And then John King turns around to Pat and goes, you know what, Pat, I really respect you. The fact you didn't want to go to Celtic was absolutely miraculous. It was Celtic who actually wanted him.
Oh no!
Who actually came. I'm probably doing the story injustice the way Pat tells it, but that was a great story in terms of. So I've got a lot of time for Pat. Johnny Morrissey, number 7 on the wing. I have to say, Robbie Apter reminds me very much of Johnny Morrissey. And Robbie's been phenomenal for us this season. Obviously, in more recent times, Connor Jennings. I mean, what a man he is. Honestly, just everything you see on the pitch and how he inspires people and what he went through before the playoff final. Absolutely, just phenomenal guy. But yeah, I've been very blessed to meet a few of them, a few different players over the years. But they would be the one. I'm sure I'm missing out people, but they would be the ones that immediately stick out for me.
Amazing. Good story about Pat Nevin there as well.
Yeah.
Again, a recurring theme of what I'm going to say. Fantastic on when he does punditry for Radio 5 Live. On the matches and that. Yeah, he is brilliant. I'm not just saying that because you brought him up. I've felt like this for years. There's there's certain ex-pros that come on and just do a fantastic job.
Well, the thing is, I think what you got to remember about Pat is that he didn't, back in the day, and I don't think I'm speaking out of turn here, is that back in the day at football at that level, there was a big drinking culture, and Pat wouldn't drink. Pat really, really looked after himself, and he was very much ahead of the game, in terms of what everybody else was doing. But of course, him not drinking wouldn't necessarily fit into different football cultures, So it's funny how he was back then, and you look at what he's achieving now with Radio 5 and everything else. He's great guy.
Brilliant. So, not too dissimilar. It's like the likes of James Milner. He's had a prolonged career because he doesn't drink. He does none of that. So that's why he's done. He's an exceptional footballer, but he's looked after himself as well. In the same token, that he's had the longevity that he's had in the game. But
also as well, and sometimes it's not just about what you're like as a player. It's also the attitude you're bringing to everybody that's in and around you. And as a true leader, and I think sometimes it's maybe not the easiest of things to see that as a fan on the pitch, but it's those people driving the people and driving the extra the players in training and everything else in between, really. So what an incredible pro James Milner's been. Absolutely phenomenal.
Great point. Should we played for them though, innit?
Now, Chris. Now, I've said that Klopp.
I'll zip it in.
I said the other week on the episode, didn't I? I've gone for Liverpool to win the title. I have. I think they're going to do it.
Yeah, I've gone the opposite way. I can't
City. Then we got lambasted afterwards, even though we bigged up Arsenal and how well they were doing, Lee. Francis, you've not spoken about Arsenal. It was like we had them, and we said that they're up there on merit, but
they're missing the striker.
One more photo before we go, Lee, because I know time is of the essence, and it's a man from TV and film, well known, synonymous in those circles. It's Mr. Danny Dyer, who was at Tranmere some years ago. I've got to pull this one up because the man's a legend. We all love Danny Dyer. So, how did this come about, him being at Tranmere?
And I want the accent as well, Lee. I want you to do his accent when you're speaking about him.
Oh, gosh, not another bad accent. I mean, so we were doing a charity game at Tranmere, and Danny very kindly came down to play. Fantastic cause. And literally like, right, let's get some time with Danny. And then we did an interview with him, and he's like, I love a bit of the fucking Tranmere, fucking the underdog, fucking love it. Literally just absolutely every F-bomb going. Excuse my language, everybody. But really, really fun guy. Obviously loves West Ham to bits, and it was good times, dealing with him. And on that day we had a number of different celebs that were there. We had Callum Best was there playing. We had Charlotte Crosby from Geordie Shore up in the boardroom, which was amusing, which was quite fun. But no, it was fantastic to do something like that and help raise money for charity and stuff like that. And that's what it's all about. And we were so thankful to the likes of Danny and all the other guys that came down. In fact, Aldo actually played that day as well. So again, going back to me being a kid on the turnstile, seeing Aldo back on the pitch was really, really cool.
Lee, before we go, we have got some comments. I'd be remiss if I left these out as well. So
sure.
Lewis would like to know up there in Falkirk, lovely Falkirk, how long have you been a director at Tranmere?
So I've been associate director at Tranmere now for literally just after the loss to Forest Green at Wembley. So that would have been 20. Gosh, I don't know what the time's going so quick now. So. Yeah, I think by the time it kind of became more official, I think it was 2017, 2018, I think.
There you go, Lewis. So, Lee's been in that role for a long time now. So, it's nice. Thank you for that as well. We appreciate it. Lee, obviously, safe travels to Philadelphia with Progress and Wrestle Tours. And just where the viewers and listeners can find you in terms of social media before you go.
Well, if you want if you want to be bombarded with Tranmere and wrestling stuff, then please follow me at on Instagram, just simply at Lee McAteer. I do have TikTok. Don't know why I've got a blue tick on TikTok, but I've done about 5 videos. Randomly, I've got one video that's like to do with George Michael. It's had like 250,000 views. But anyway, I don't know if you want to be really bored on that one, but for the most part, you can catch me on, I can't say x.com, it just seems wrong, but on Twitter, it's just at Mr. Lee McAteer. And obviously, if you want to follow Progress, it's at Progress Wrestling.
Yes, I'm looking forward to seeing that once it's on demand as well. That show in Philly, I can't wait to see that. That's going to be amazing. And also, before I forget, Britain's Best Boss. Britain's Best Boss, you hear, okay?
Well, I mean, again, I mean, that was, well, here's the thing, right? On that basis, you should always believe what you read in the Daily Mail, right, boys? And they said I was 2 years younger than what I really was too. But no, I mean, that was, unbelievably humbling. The reality is that I'm not Britain's best boss. I'm probably one of the hardest people to work with, but that's because my standards are so high, and I want to be able to produce the very best. But that was a very, very cool moment, I must say. Very, very cool moment. And after I turned my office into the world's largest adult ball pit, that was a very, 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 very crazy time. And that was when I'd created and founded and ultimately sold the AmeriCamp and Camp Thailand brands. And now I've just launched a new startup called Camp New York, where we're offering opportunities for people around the world to go and work at summer camps in New York for the summer, earn a salary of $2,000. And who knows, there might be a few more ball pits involved in those opportunities. But I love giving back, and if I can help with with anything that's got a good cause, I will do. But the whole Britain's Best Boss thing, it was unbelievably humbling, if not probably untrue.
You don't.
Somebody else said it, and the Daily Mirror and Forbes, I think it was, and
Forbes.
It was all over the place.
I didn't know that, and I did. You downplayed it 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago on the wrestling show with me about that. But I have to bring it up, Lee. I have to do it for you.
Cool times. But again, I'm very much aware that I'm surrounded by really, really good people, and they're the ones that truly deserve the credit rather than me. But I really appreciate it nevertheless.
Chris, anything to add before I close out?
I appreciate you coming on, Lee. Getting something back from Tranmere, we can pat you on the head and say, hello and all that, But like we said from the start of this, Tranmere is still something me and Stuart hold quite deeply because of our granddad and our connections with our mums being from that area and stuff. So, if there's a time I might play as on Football Manager and you might get in the Champions League every now and again. But I do that with the biggest of hearts because, at the end of the day, it's still a massive club to me because it's something that, it's 2-2 between Everton and Tranmere. Obviously, I support Everton. But I've got heart for Tranmere just because of, family connections. But I appreciate you coming on and giving us the sort of your side of things where normally, it's me and Stuart going off on really random tangents, not normally about Everton, by the way. We can stay clear from that one, but I appreciate you from coming on.
No, my pleasure, Chris. And, thanks, Stu. It's a real pleasure to do this. And, congratulations on all your success. And hopefully speak to you soon and see you down at Prenton Park or a Progress Wrestling show.
I need to, when you come to the Ritz again,
Manchester.
Ritz, I love it. I love it for gigs. I've been to many a gig there. Oxford Road, get off the train and get down. And Mike will tell you, I did say I was going to come last year. It didn't happen. But yeah.
Well, you're going to come now, Stu.
That's the plan. Well, I've spoke to the boss man now, haven't I? So I'm going to have to come. But yeah, hopefully get to see you later on the year at the Manchester date. I know you do a lot down in London, of course. So yeah. Our guest today for episode 8 of Football Then and Now is Tranmere Rovers director Lee McAteer. Thank you so much for sparing the time. I know you're busy, so we've loved it. We've loved every second of that and your insight today on Tranmere and football and being a director.
My pleasure. Thank you, Stu. Thank you, Chris, and all the best. And generally, I hope Everton stay up this season. Really do.
Cheers, Lee. Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Left it on a positive note there. Thank you. Football Then and Now, a fun look at football nostalgia and the modern game intertwined. Join us.